A few years ago, I was walking down the street in my hometown, and there was this one moment in which I felt what I never felt in my life before. Absolutely nothing. A hollow, gnawing silence. For a fleeting moment, I felt an overwhelming absence of meaning, of connection, of anything at all. It wasn't sadness or pain, but something worse. The total absence of feeling. And for those brief minutes, I met the void. It was an apathetic state tainted with a pinch of hopelessness that I will never forget. I was put into existence without my consent, and now I was in this fucked up situation. I considered myself a nihilist at this point. I was falling through existence without anything that gave me grip, and it was not a happy fall, especially because I had no idea when this fall is going to stop, or if it ever is going to stop. My existence meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. Reality played a dirty trick on me, but I've seen through the trick. That's at least what I thought. Punished by the realization and the associated emptiness, I was still standing on the street. Not knowing what to do, I simply continued my walk, literally and metaphorically. In my nihilistic discovery, I felt like I was waking up from a delusion in which the masses were still trapped in. The conviction that nothing matters has shown me unmistakably that I see something that almost nobody else sees, and that the others see something that is not real. In my juvenile arrogance, there was no other way. All the other people live in a delusion, but I see things as what they are. Even though I identified as a nihilist, looking back at it, it was not true nihilism I embodied, but a cynical, arrogant, rational, hyper-intelligent nihilism that existed primarily because of the arrogance of my intellect. A true nihilist knows that there is no negative and positive, no good or bad, no right or wrong. Everything exists within the void. Nothing has a value outside of our mind. By that, the box of overall existence within superordinate time frame is the wrong box of conceptualization for being, because you don't exist in the overall box, but solely in your direct conscious experience. The mere fact that in 500 million years the sun explodes has nothing to do with you or me. The superordinate time frame is not relevant for us. It is a castle in the air and stands in no relationship to our existence. It is not true. What is true? Matter is one answer, what matters another. We will leave the question as it is and go at least with the premise that castles in the air are not true, unlike our direct conscious experience. Now it gets interesting. If you are a man that properly embodies nihilism, you cannot suffer under your nihilism. After all, if nothing matters, why would existence be a burden? Why would a true nihilist commit suicide? If being and non-being have equal value, why would he make the active decision of choosing non-being? In contrast, if he still continues to exist, he would be a true nihilist, because as he is stuck in being, he actually showcased that being doesn't matter, as there is no reason to stop it. But virtually nobody is at this point of nihilistic acceptance. Nihilism is incompatible with us humans, because we automatically value things above others. If this was not true, we would simply sit on our bed, do nothing, and sit there until we die of thirst. Instead, those who call themselves nihilists are suffering under their nihilism, and that is not a pleasant experience. And that was also true for me. The reality was that I didn't saw the world for what it was, but I did saw the world for how I was, and what I was depressed. And if you are feeling depressed and your mind steps out of daily life and ponders about overall existence, and on top of that, you have the tendency to place your intellect above those of others, it is not particularly helpful at first. After all, maybe there was no reason to be so goddamn hopeless, except that it was easier to be useless. The cruelty of this kind of nihilism is that it forestalls effort. It forestalls the ability to discover a possible meaning of existence for yourself. The hyper-rational intellectual nihilist throws the world away as it is of little use before it has been properly interacted and engaged with. In the face of nihilism and suffering, you should hope that you're wrong, because if you're suffering and you're right, there is no way to go. Better to make the assumption that if the world isn't returning to you what you need, then either you're not doing it right, or you've conceptualized what you need badly. Why not at least open yourself up to that possibility? Because you could be wrong. Hopefully, if you are suffering, you are wrong. Passive, hyper-rational nihilism is a suboptimal mode of being. The solution to the problem of tragedy and malevolence is the willingness to face them. And through this adventure, you either turn into a true nihilist or you discover meaning for yourself. The place to discover meaning is not in the world, it's not in your head, it is in the interaction between the two. And that's exactly why passiveness and a pseudo-intellectualism is so anti-human. It traps you in a wrong box where you cannot discover life and truth properly. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. What is the best antidote to the discomfort of life? You might say comfort, but once you experience comfort, you'll realize that it's like cotton candy. It's just not doing the job. Because one domino after another has fallen in my life without me realizing it, I've indulged in soulless, hedonistic endeavors. And after a too long time, I finally realized it. Pleasure is a bottomless pit. It will never fill the existential hole, ever. I realized that I'm essentially destroying myself for nothing, and that was nothing I wanted to continue. It was soul rotting. After I realized that the antidote isn't comfort and pleasure, I was lost. What's the antidote to the existential burden if not comfort? Old archetypal stories gave me the answer. Adventure, challenge, curiosity, accompanied by the continual transformation of oneself. This is just what we are built for. We are built for struggle. We are built for the fight with dragons. We are built for the constant dance between order and chaos. And we are built for the personal transformation that goes along with it. You are who you are, but more importantly, you are who you could be. There is a whole lot more to you than you think, like way more. Enough to cope with the struggles of the world, inside of you. And it's up to you to reject and ignore it, or to embrace it. These are your options. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Once the clock comes to its end, you've missed the adventure of your life. Once you're old and frail, it's too late. And you'll know that it's your fault and that you squandered what you could have had. That's the price you have to pay if you fall prey to the pseudo-intellectual nihilism. If you are in a nihilistic hole, how can you go on this adventure? You adopt responsibility. And you tell the truth, especially to yourself. This can be very uncomfortable, but it's worth it if you compare it to the alternative. If you act as if your being doesn't matter, then you don't have to do anything. It's a great justification for total lack of responsibility. But talking yourself into irrelevance is not a profound critique of being. Any idiot can choose a frame of time within nothing matters. It's a cheap trick of the rational mind. The reality is that nihilism is useless in the face of suffering. In the suffering that you experience firsthand, that is not a fantasy, but the realest thing you know, because you can't argue it away. So make it simple and abandon your nihilism. But that does not solve the underlying problem why you've ended up there in the first place. The suffering. The benefit of my nihilism is that it was liberating. Nearly all the societal norms of good and bad and what I should do with my life were broken. As it turned out, over the long run, this was an incredible beneficial realization. Nothing matters, so I can do whatever I want. But the flip side of this realization is the question, what is it that I want to do? I was completely lost, and that could have sent me in a very bad direction. There is this notion that once you realize nothing actually matters, you can choose what matters to you. But that's not true. What matters to us is nothing we can choose, but what appears and what we feel if we interact with the world. We can discover, but not decide what is meaningful to us. Suffering is the precondition to existence. That's probably a fundamental truth. But a truth might be even more fundamental is that we can transcend this suffering. And partly how one can do this is by pursuing things of value. If your life isn't what it could be, try telling the truth. The biggest price I had to pay was to accept that I had to radically subject myself to reality. Something that the pseudo-intellectual, arrogant part of me didn't like at all. But thank God, that was after all a very small price to pay. And if you think about it, why would you not want to pay this price? Do you really think you can subject reality under your will? If you believe that, you are probably absolutely delusional and arrogant beyond comprehension, and you will pay the price for this. And most likely, if you engaged in this behavior, you already have paid a price for it. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. If you open yourself up to get guidance, and if are genuine about it, and if you don't force the world to play by your rules, you might discover the things that can transcend your suffering. It doesn't matter what you call it. Universe, God, your conscience. Whatever it is, whatever you call it, isn't this a worthwhile option to explore? If you are hopeless and nihilistic and resentful, there is so much possibility that surrounds you that you can make something out of it, regardless of the reality of its horror. Without the proper engagement in truth, your life will degenerate and you will end up embittered and in hell. Despite my anecdote at the beginning, I was never remotely depressed in a clinical manner. I had a flirt with nihilism and hopelessness, that's it. And I have a message for those who are considering the exit. If you are standing on the edge and you are desperate, I have one thought for you. You can always do it tomorrow. The exit is a final act. You don't get to do it twice if you are successful. Why not stick it out just a bit longer? If you leave, you will leave a hole in the fabric of being itself. The potential for transformation of you and the world that surrounds you vanishes with your exit. The hole you leave is bigger than you think. Do you have anything to lose before trying every possible option?